So I'd like to welcome everyone to Career Week, Alumni Career Week, sponsored by the Alumni Association. Thank you for attending today's Rita B. Leahy Career Panel. I'm Susan Martin. I'm the Program Director for Doctoral Career Development. And I have with me here today my graduate assistant, April Fuller. The Rita B. Leahy series has been happening for 2 years. It's sponsored by one of our generous alumnus. And there usually are 2 panels each semester. We've been holding them virtually, which is fantastic because we get great panelists. And it's also very convenient for our doctoral students and postdocs. The next installment will be on March 8th, and we're going to be focusing on those writing and communication skills by featuring some alumni who work in the areas of marketing, communication, and UX. I've already told you who I am. I'm Susan Martin. I'm the Program Director for Doctoral Career Development. I'm located in the graduate school. I have one graduate assistant, April Fuller, who's here on this call, and I'm currently looking for a doctoral career consultant. So that's a 6 to 16-hour-a-week position. So if you're interested, reach out to me later. Today's panel is actually focused on Maryland's biotech industry. And for those of you in the audience who aren't familiar with the breadth or the depth of the biotech industry, I encourage you to check out the state of Maryland's website about the different industries. Some of the accolades for the life sciences and cyber and IT are quite phenomenal. For those of you in the life sciences, if you're not already familiar with BioBuzz, I suggest that you click on the icon on the slide and sign up for their newsletter, because I think it will really enlighten you to the breadth and the depth of the biotech and life sciences companies that are here in Maryland. Today, we have 3 incredible Maryland alumni. The panel, and I'm not going to introduce them because they are going to introduce themselves using their elevator pitch. We have Dr. Julia Greenfield, Dr. Dietrich Roman, and Dr. Berin, Parambethu, Varghese. And they are each going to tell you a little bit about what they do, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Julia, if you'd go ahead and start us off, that would be fantastic.
Thank you very much, Dr. Martin. So as Dr. Martin said, my name is Dr. Julia Greenfield, and I am a postdoc researcher at NIST, National Institute of Standards and Technology, in the NCNR, which is the NIST Center for Neutron Research. I have this wonderful opportunity where I get to conduct research studying aggregation of antibodies, and I'm part of a collaboration with NIST and Amgen. So during this postdoc, I had a lot of time to learn new skills that I didn't know before, and learn some skills in terms of project management and how to actually lead or drive a project. So I'm very happy about the skills that I've learned, and I'm excited to be working at NIST. And so for the questions that we have, when I started my PhD, I was not sure what I wanted to do with it. I kind of toggled between going into industry and continuing in academia. And so as I was able to continue through my PhD and learn more about my likes and dislikes, and also get a little bit more insight into different fields, I decided that I didn't quite want to go into academia just yet, and I wanted to try something different. And I was so lucky that this position that I got at NIST kind of has a similar feel to academia and a little bit of industry kind of mixed together in this government lab. And what is really interesting is I'm in the same building that I did my doctoral research in. And so I know a lot of people there, and I was able to, leverage those relationships and skills to learn even more and to be successful so far. I would say the work I do now really consists of driving my research project on antibody aggregation, specifically chimeric antibody fragments. And so I won't get into what those are for this talk, this technical talk, but for a day-to-day kind of thing, it varies. So for instance, some days I'm just analyzing data, crunching numbers, things of that nature to progress my project. But other days I'm in the lab, I'm doing lab work or bench work. And I also have the time to, or opportunity to conduct research at other systems or other places, other facilities, I should say. So it just depends. And so it is very similar to academia, but you don't have some of the other distractions, I might call them, like TAing and things like that. I get to focus on the lab work, which is very nice. And so I guess when I think of how my doctoral experience prepared me, I would say it taught me a lot about time management, which is something I still struggle with, but every day I'm striving to be better. I learned a lot about how to think as a scientist. I think as the other panelists will tell you, after you get your PhD, you've learned a lot of skills, but that doesn't end your learning, right? Of what skills or techniques that you're going to need, but you have learned to think like a scientist. And so that really is what's going to drive you in your next step of your project. So never be discouraged if you don't know exactly a particular skill or you don't know how to operate a particular instrument. Someone will be there to teach you. They really want your mind as a scientist to drive the project forward. And I would say networking and mentoring. So I am very shy and I don't like networking at all. And I did struggle to find a mentor because of my shyness. But I would say it's very important to take advantage of opportunities that come up and to get out of your comfort zone. So one of the reasons why I said yes to this program is because Dr. Martin, I set an appointment one day to see her, and she just kind of opened my eyes to networking, and just, it's not as scary as I made it seem. So if you're in my shoes and are not a social butterfly, I would say just reach out to different people and take advantage of programs that come up. University of Maryland has a lot of programs that really are geared towards helping the student progress to the next step. So don't close yourself off and be prepared to get out of your comfort zone. And that would be my advice for the next students. Be prepared to get out of your comfort zone, and it's okay to network.
Thank you so much, Dr. Greenfield. I had you go first because you've taken that next step and you're in a postdoc and you're in a federal lab. And I know that there's a lot of interest in federal positions. So we'll go on next to Dietrich, Dr. Roman.
Thank you, Susan. I appreciate it. And then just before we start, I really want to echo Julia's experience getting out of your comfort zone. It is, once you get used to it, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in a second, it is a lot of fun. And using scientific skills and scientific sort of background and approaches to push yourself and your team is a privilege. And not all professions can do this. So I'll talk more about this. I just want to say thank you, Julia. That was a fantastic ending point there. So I just quickly go. I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I start with the beginning. I know it's unusual. Dietrich Roman, I did my PhD in London in 1998, probably before most of you were born. So this is, yes, we have electricity already. And so yes, some of us had internet. So this is a long time ago. I really didn't know why I was doing a PhD. I loved science. I really did. And I thought science is the best thing ever. And then my supervisor, undergraduate supervisor at the same time, said, hey, you want to write a grant? for scholarship. I said, sure, what's that? And so I ended up doing a PhD program. And then in London, after 3 years, you become unemployed after your PhD. So that's a really good incentive to write up your thesis, because otherwise you'll die because you starve. So I wrote up my thesis, passed the thesis, and then I got a phone call saying, hey, I've got a postdoc position. You want to work for me? So it's have a postdoc or be unemployed. So I took the postdoc. I didn't know where, I didn't know what I was going to do, but that's how I sort of accepted a postdoc position. There was no time to reflect in a career way, did I really want to spend my time in academia? I had that during my postdoc in Vancouver, which is a fantastic time to be a postdoc. And I really, at that moment, decided that academia is probably not suited for me. I love science, I love discovery, I love product development, I love solving problems, but in academic context, I think that was probably left for smarter people than me. So I went back to the UK, went into a biotech tool making company, building microscopes and doing those things. And somebody discovered that I'm not entirely useless in front of customers. And so they decided, hey, there's this assay development scientist. He can actually talk to customers peer-to-peer. We're selling to big pharmaceutical companies and biotech companies all over Europe and North America. So I spent 2/3 of my time on an airport and a plane and loved it. I thought it was the best thing ever. So you took to really smart people in pharma companies, really smart people. And I was just happy as you can be. Being surrounded by scientists who just know so much more than I do is the best thing ever. You can learn every day from the best. That was fantastic. So what I do now, now I just started a new company that's not life sciences. I'm not going to talk about this, but what I've done for the last 10 years or so, help small and medium-sized biotech companies and medical device and companies and laboratory instrumentation companies to really design, help build the product and launch it into the market. So I've done a lot of marketing, I've done a lot of product sales, I've done a lot of sales training, but also product design and customer discovery. So what is it that the customers really want to do? That's kind of what I've been doing. And how did that PhD help me in my career? So all my customers are scientists in a way. And so being peer-to-peer with them, understanding how they think, understanding how they work, and then really work with them as a peer, saying, hey, you've got a scientific problem. Maybe I have something that can help you. Maybe not, is a huge help. But that also means that you have to shift gear all the time. So I've been out on the road with nanotechnology devices, with GFP labeled antibodies, with microscopes. I've touched all these things, and you really have to catch up to your customers and learn from them. But you know, your PhD prepared you to be good at this. So that really worked in my favor, I think. And transferable skills developed outside doctoral program. So I really want to stress curiosity. This is one of those most amazing things what you do when you do a PhD. You are professionally allowed to be curious. In fact, if you're not curious, you're in the wrong line of work. So finding stuff out, how stuff works, how science works, what the customer's problems are, is a blast. It's a rush. And so you should totally do this and work with this innate curiosity and go out and use it in everything you can. So that was probably the most transferable skill I had. There were a few others. You're not afraid of learning a new technique. Whether you were in the lab and all of a sudden they say you need to do a protein bioassay, you just get a book and do it. For me, it was programming, industrial design, electronics, these things I taught myself. You're not afraid of teaching yourself a new skill, because during your PhD, you had to do this anyway, right? So you're not relying on anybody. Somebody says you need to do a PCR, you go off, get the manual and do a PCR. You probably mess it up the first 3 times, but then you get it right. So not be afraid of learning a new skill is really a transferable skill. And then role networking and mentoring played in my professional development. So this is a tricky one because I've never really had formal mentoring. I don't know if that's a relatively new thing, or and I'm just too old, or I just didn't really have a formal mentoring relationship. I've mentored lots of people, but But networking is hugely important. And so the networking that I think is mostly important is not who connects to most people on LinkedIn in a day. That's not a good matrix, but who has meaningful conversations with people where both can benefit. And I think if you work with others, you work with other students or professors, always think about this. This should be a two-way conversation. And, you know, to all of immigrants of us, the US is the most amazing place to meet people new and have conversations with them about something completely new and completely exciting. I've never lived or worked in a country that is so open to start a conversation with somebody. So use that, and there are lots of opportunities to that where you can go out and meet others peer-to-peer and have meaningful conversations. It's not all about just connecting on LinkedIn. So I just want to push that out there on the networking side. What career job advice do I have for current student docs? It's kind of the same. Coming back to Julia's point of get out of your comfort zone, get networking. But the one thing I want to stress, and that's probably in the run-up, that's the only thing I really wanted to say, is understand the difference between what you're good at and what you like doing. If you're really, 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 really good at lab work, but you hate it, don't take a job in industry that pays you really well to be a lab scientist, because you burn out. If you're really good in front of customers, don't take a job as a sales rep if you hate sales. You know, I made that mistake. So be centered around yourself and try to find out what you're good at and what you love doing. And if they're the same thing, awesome. But if they're not the same thing, find somehow a medium ground that you can do the lab work, and then you find something that you're really good at and you really like doing, and you do that as well. So I just want you to stress, don't go down the road that what you're good is must be your career. You have to love what you do. And I think that's I close on that.
What a great point to end on. Thank you so much. Super. Okay, so next in our lineup, Berin, go right ahead.
Can you hear me?
That's good. All you need to do is switch into the presentation mode if you're able to do that.
Is it okay?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, thank you, Susan, for inviting me for this event. So I'm Berin Parambethu Varghese. So I finished my PhD from University of Maryland last July. So I joined GSK after like 7 months after my completion of 7 days after my completion of PhD. So I will just go through like the process which I did to get this position, and a little bit background about me. So first of all, I did my Doctor of Veterinary Medicine degree from India in 2012. And I joined, at that time I was taking to come to US directly after my undergrad degree. So then my process told me that you have to do your master's and get a little bit of exposure to research that will help you get a position for PhD in US. So I decided to do my master's in a premier veterinary research institute in India. And I finished that one on 2014, and then I joined here in the University of Maryland Department of Veterinary Medicine for a PhD in virology. So I finished on last July, so it's almost like 6 years. And meantime, I have an opportunity to get more, because I don't have any virology experience that time, but I got a better opportunity to learn those techniques that will help to get a job here. And also I have like more than like 5-year experience in biosafety 3 lab with a more than 2 year as a manager for that lab. So that also helped me to I have like 2 options: either I can go for like a virology post, or I can go for like a biosafety side. So I applied for like biosafety side, and I got like more interviews, but actually they did like more experience though, like certifications and all things. So I contacted our RO, probably you might know Sherry, and Amanda. So they advised to me to spend like 2 years in NIH or something for the course. But later on, I am also in parallel I am applying for this virology side also. So I got a couple of interviews. I mean, they will do first like a phone interview. So sometimes they will call back, sometimes they don't. So actually, this position I gave like interview on March 12th, and they offered me position like late May. And but I can't, because I got COVID at that time, and I can't able to finish by May. So later on, I'll defend on only in July. So, but the manager was willing to. He was okay with joining on July. So I joined this position on July 16th, and the main work I am doing, I can go in deep about those work we are doing inside because of the confidentiality. So what we are doing is like basically the vaccine development based on mRNA vaccines, like self-amplifying mRNA vaccines, and we have like different groups. It is not like an academia. So what we are doing is we have like 6 groups. I'm in the virology group, like molecular analytics groups, molecular biology groups, like 5-6 groups. They all are working to get like a common objective. That's like a predefined objective for this year. So like 2022, we have like a particular objective for Q1. That means it is going to finish by March. So we have to work hard. So what I really like is that there is like a result-oriented research is going on. If something isn't going wrong, they don't want to do that research right now, they will give us a low priority. So the first project I started, they are now it's in low priority. So I have shifted to like a different project. So I'm working to get it done by like next March. So it's a different environment. The other thing is that it is not like a PhD. It's not like it's our work. I have to finish everything by myself. It's not like that. I'm doing my part. It's a teamwork. So that's like really enjoying, and the flexibility of time. That's the other thing I am enjoying right now, because it depends on the manager, but most manager are okay. So they want to finish the project which I am working in like before the deadlines. They have pipelines. So that's the so we have to work. We can go maybe like early 6 o'clock and come back by 2 o'clock or though. So there is no like you have to come by 9 and leave late night. It's not like that. So those kinds I am really enjoying. I don't want to work like that, but I have to work like a smart working. That's what I used to do. So then it's highly paid. So and also like our company offers like a career development goal. So each year we have to set like what you are going to achieve for your career this year. So we have to give that one before like this 31st. So that's what you can take courses from like here I am working in Gettysburg. So you can go to that college. You can maybe if you want to learn like molecular biology or bioinformatics, whatever, you can do that one. So those kind of things I really liked very much in this working environment. So then what I did to get this position is like I started networking. So first I made a resume, and I missed like this even last time, but I contacted Susan to get her suggestions for my CV resume. So I modified resume accordingly, and I have like our seniors, that means from India. So they are doing in different companies, big companies like Pfizer and Merck. So I seek their help to get more information how to go through this application or this job process. So they advised me to go in a specific path. So they asked me to like modify the LinkedIn profile and keep in touch and don't contact like they already mentioned what, because we had to just focus on what we need, what we had to get it done for what job we need to do. So focus on that, make your profile accordingly, and then apply to your position that really you need and that match your skills. That's what I learned. We can apply for any positions. Maybe we have like 2 or 3 technical skills, but that's what I learned. And also in industry, I felt that because I learned a lot of techniques after joining in GSK for the last 6 months. So I was not doing those things in GMD, but they want the people who needs to get learned, and also also being a part of a team to get the job done. And then like a costume part I already mentioned. So yeah, that's then as my opinion, you have to that's because I applied for a lot of positions, but I didn't get reply for anything sometimes, so I didn't fed up. So if you are interested to get that done, you have to apply more. Sometimes you will get up to like phone call interview, sometimes you get up to like your manager interview. And the another things what I did was like for the team interview, that if you are going for like a final stage of the interview, that time your whole team will interview you. So that time you have to be prepared. Like you have to spend some time for that. Otherwise that's not good, because it's like a 5 hour for me. Now it's online, so it was like a 4.5 hour interview direct inside continuous. It start from 9 and finish by 1:30. So that's a tedious process. So we have to prepare for that one, and they will ask like technical questions, and also they will ask the competency question, behavioral questions. So behavioral questions, what I did was I just used a method like STAR. So those methods you can see in Google, or everywhere you can find the details, or YouTube you can see and prepare for those kind of questions. Like for example, uh, tell me about a conflict you had with your PA, and how did you resolve that question. So so those kind of questions, if they ask immediately, so we don't have anything to say, because we can't say that I don't have any conflict with PA. So those kind of questions we have to prepare. So yeah, that's all from my side. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Berin, I want to thank you so much for mentioning LinkedIn and also using the STAR method. I'm sure you've piqued the interest of some of the audience. Would you go ahead and stop sharing your screen?
Yeah, sure.
And we are ready to, I'm going to switch so I can see everyone's boxes here in the gallery view. So let's go ahead and ask some questions. Unmute yourself and show your face and ask some questions to one or more of the panelists. Who wants to go first? Go ahead, Christina.
Oh, hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay, great. Hi. So my question is to Dietrich.
Oh, Christina, introduce yourself too. What program are you in? Are you an alum? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I'm a fourth-year PhD student, so at the Department of Entomology. And so I'm preparing for the qualifying exam. And this is when I started to think that like, oh my goodness, why am I even doing it? What do I want to do after? And so actually, like a week ago, I started heavily thinking about it, looking for jobs on LinkedIn. And that's when the alumni week came up, that like career week. I was like, great. Because, and now I'm so happy that I heard Dietrich talk, because my question is to you, because this is kind of exactly what I want to get into, because I love science. But I know I'm more of a people person, and I know I don't want to closet myself in the lab. And that's what I thought, that maybe like I would be a good sales rep in a biotech company. But I was looking at jobs on LinkedIn, and then the requirements are like for bachelor's degrees for positions like that. I'm like, then how do I get into, or should I or not? And so if you could just give an advice that like, where to start, how to explore this environment, then I would be really appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm happy to talk briefly, happy to talk, of course, offline as well. First of all, nothing beats talking to another sales rep and understanding how their life is work, right? I mean, sales rep or in some cases, technically application specialists, which is similar to sales reps. So if you work for somebody like Becton Dickinson or one of the big medical sort of tool companies, they have technical application specialists, and they are super qualified PhD level scientists, but they report into the sales channel, and they travel with the salespeople, and they basically teach, coach new product developments. When there's a new flow cytometer coming out or something like this, they're the ones who are going out there with the instrumentation and going to the top tier labs, and they're installing those. I've done that kind of job more on the scientific side, and it's a blast. You have the people contact, but you don't necessarily have the sort of commercial side element of sales. So that's a good entry point if you want to use a PhD at full qualification. The other thing is, honestly, I wouldn't worry about it. Look for positions or look for companies that you want to work for, and network into the company saying, hey, where in your company would I fit in? Maybe not in sales, maybe it's more in marketing, right? So where you have people skills. So that's I would pick companies out you think you would like to work for.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, I will connect with you, and maybe
totally.
if you have time, I would love to hear more.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What a fantastic question, and what a great answer. Informational interviews are really powerful. And Julia said it was scary at first, but it really is a useful technique.
Yeah.
So super. I know there are more questions out there.
Hi, can I ask something?
Of course.
This is actually for all of the panelists. My name is Ha-Cheng Fang. I'm actually a graduate of the Maryland's business school. And so my question is actually a little almost flipped from the previous one. So I've always been on the business side. I do not have a scientific background, and that has been trying to break into either pharma or any of the life sciences has been so difficult. And I've got almost like 20 years of marketing and strategy and analytics, but I'm always told, like, you have a great resume, but you don't have pharma experience, or but you don't have life science experience. So do the panelists have any advice for being able to break in when, like, I'm not trying to go on the science side, I want to stay on the business side, but breaking into that industry?
Dietrich, I think this is your question.
I don't know. I always go with my strength and not my weaknesses. If somebody absolutely must have an engineering degree or a pharma degree, well, maybe I won't fit in anyway, right? If I can bring my proven adaptability into the field and saying, hey, I can, talk to engineers, I can talk to business people, but I am at the core a scientist. Is that good enough for you? You're also in a huge position to select your employer. It's at the moment, it's a market where you guys are in the driving seat. So I would not worry too much about people who say you must have this kind of qualification. They're looking a lot more in the recruitment process, and Susan will certainly confirm this, for personalities and adaptability and the ability to do the job, then really have you worked in a pharmaceutical company before, unless it gets really technical. So if you go in like Berin level or Julia level, where it's really technical bench work, but if it's management slash, I don't want to call it administration, but if it's a management role, industry specific, it shouldn't matter all that much.
And I'm going to add to what Dietrich said, and I'm going to go back to these conversations with alumni.
Yeah.
I mean, our Smith alumni are deeply embedded in all kinds of organizations.
Yeah.
And if you haven't already done some informational interviews to say, hey, look, this is something I'm hearing. What advice do you have for me? You may find that they have some interesting advice about how to bridge the skill set that you have right now and make that leap.
So yeah,
to build that bridge. So, and I would be glad to chat with you too offline, just a bit. And you're an alum as well, right?
Yes.
I'm going to do a plug. Our Alumni Association has featured, they call it career fellowships. It's a multi-week online career course, and it's very, very reasonably priced. If you haven't looked at that kind of process, I'd be glad to share information about that as well. But let's go on to some more questions. And we've got someone who started their career at NIST and someone who just also stepped into GSK. And I know that the students and the postdocs out there have questions for all three panelists. So let's hear another question.
I believe someone has their hand raised.
Thank you. Go ahead, Andrea, or Andrea. I'm not sure if I said that correctly. Are you there? Can you unmic yourself? Oh, maybe. Thank you for seeing that, Julia. Andrea, are you there? Okay. We'll come back to her then. I'm curious. Oh, there you go.
I'm sorry, I had some technical difficulties. I just came from my Zoom exercise class, but I did listen to the whole thing. I teach a class in regulatory affairs for master's students, and I just retired from 30 years at the Food and Drug Administration and in industry in Maryland. And I just wanted to add on to the great advice that's been here today. One in particular about informational interviews and mentors and networking, all in one thing. In my 30 years of career, I've had some jobs that totally changed on me.
Yeah.
And what I did was I got my Rolodex out or my LinkedIn connections or something, and I started asking people out for coffee. People are afraid of mentoring with you because they don't think they have enough time, and it's a commitment, and they really want to do a good job. And we love you guys. We love you students, but we always have time for coffee. So I would say invite somebody out for coffee. The last question about staying on the business side, for example, is perfect for a coffee date with somebody who does it. And don't ask them for a job, because then they'll feel terrible and they don't have one. But ask for another person to take out for coffee, and do that until you find someone with the job. And that works every time. People love coffee nowadays, and they love being, feeling important and helpful. It's not a burden at all. So I would say take people out for coffee, and don't overlook federal jobs. I know people look at USA jobs and they think it's terrible, and it kind of is. But I would recommend two things. One is do not search for a job by the title. The government job titles are confusing and awful, and they have nothing to do with the tasks they'll be giving you. There's lots of scientific jobs there. Don't assume you're unqualified. I was a regulatory counsel, but you do not have to be a lawyer to be a regulatory counsel. You just have to be able to counsel people about regulations. And so look for jobs there, and you'll be asked to self-assess on a scale of 1 to 5. And lots of people hate to give themselves 5 because they feel that there's always somebody smarter than they are, so they couldn't possibly be a 5. Well, the 5, if you look at the whole description of a 5, the last point is, my colleagues ask me for help at work. So if your colleagues have ever asked you for help at work, you can give yourself a 5 with a straight face. So please don't overlook federal jobs. There's lots of science going on at FDA, where I'm from, especially with COVID, at NIH, all throughout HHS. So I'll let the students take over now, but thank you for letting me chime in.
Andrea, I'm so grateful that you chimed in. For our students who are on the call, there is lots of help in our Doctoral Career Navigator modules, which I'll talk about later in terms of applying for a federal career. It's just learning to put your qualifications in another format. And as doc students, you can easily do it. And you're absolutely right. There are lots of jobs being posted right now.
And may I also say something? It's really hard to overstate just how far you have come, how smart you guys are, how hard you've worked. Be proud of this. You've got a PhD, dang it. I mean, it's difficult. You get that imposter syndrome. Oh my God, I can't work in pharmaceutical companies because I spent the last 10 years building medical devices. You can learn this. You can make the shift if that's what it's going to take. You've proven that you have the peak of academic excellence, right? It doesn't get any better than this. So from now on, nothing that the jobs can do to you could be more difficult to learn than doing a PhD. So I would really, put some emphasis on confidence that you can go out there and you can do these things.
Great.
I saw a hand go up from Andrea as well, so I shut up. Otherwise, I'll keep going.
Was there another question?
No, that was a clap.
That was a clap for you. Virtual clap.
Tell the difference, but that was a clap.
Yeah. So I do want to add one thing about these informational interviews. Now that we're in this Zoom world, it's very easy to arrange a virtual coffee with
Oh,
someone.
yeah.
You ask them for 15 minutes. It is quite easy. I'm going to turn to Julia and Berin, and I just want you to talk a little bit about that transition from finishing up your PhD into the workplace. What's that been like? Because as Dietrich said, you've just completed the pinnacle of higher education, where probably you felt like an imposter because your faculty were grilling you, and now you're going through another transition. What's that been like, and what advice do you have for someone who's about to make that transition?
Okay, I'll start. If I could just pull it back just a little bit more. I think when you're looking to make that transition, don't be afraid to take advantage of opportunities and to promote yourself. So Dietrich did talk about confidence, right? And so that's one of the things maybe I struggled with, but I gave a lot of talks for my dissertation over and over again. And I believe, well, the more you give your dissertation talk, the better you are at it. But I was able to get an invitation to give a talk at NIST. And I think that, you know, it helped me as well, that some of the people who heard my talk already, who became familiar with me, were part of the people on the interviewing committee, right? So that was one thing that if you left it up to my initial decision, I would have tried to hide from it, but it did help me in the long run. And with my transition from graduate student to being a regular employee. So my experience is a little bit different because I'm literally in the same building I was in for my graduate studies. So it's a little surreal, right? But I think the biggest thing is now you have more control over what you're doing. You have your goals, your aims that you want to meet with your collaborators, your bosses, and things of that nature. And you can kind of set them out how you want to achieve them, your timeframes and things of that nature. So that was one thing that was different in my transition to postdoc life.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, I got an offer letter from GSK on May last year. So because I can join that time only by July. So there was enough time for me to prepare by myself, but actually my thesis writing, defense, everything was on that time. So I didn't get much time to prepare myself. So I got only 7 days for my transition. So what I did was I just took a break and go for a trip, then come back. So because I can do much things at that time. So what I think to go, because I used to like to travel. So we spent 4 days for camping and all, then come back. So and the day before joining, I was more stressed because I don't know how the work culture, because academia we know, but I have no idea about how the people will be there, whether I don't have the much total skills that they asked for so that make me a little bit more tense. But when I joined, so my boss showed me all the facilities and all, and there is a huge trainings we had to take, around 1 month it takes. So meantime, I gave all these things what's happening there. So that helped me to get adapted very nicely, and all the team members were good. So I think right now it takes at least for me it takes 2 months to get adapted to that culture, but now I am really enjoying that position.
Great, Berin. So it sounds like you were going into a totally new environment, but there was training and there was support and time to come up to speed.
Yeah, sure. Because they don't give me projects when the day I joined, so they give me some time to adapt to that environment, because they know that I am coming from a different academia. So they told to take rest, so to take the rest trainings, because at least it takes 1 month for me. So meantime, if I want to learn some techniques what they are regularly doing, so my manager asked me to, if you can shadow that person who is doing that techniques, that will be good for your future. So I was doing both things simultaneously. So at least that helped me to be an independent researcher and also as a part of a team for doing the project.
So you were just reaching out to individuals in the group or in other groups to get some instruction on new techniques?
We can either we can approach them individually, or the boss or our manager, we call manager, will ask me to contact this person, because I'm new to that lab or like that company. So he will help me to if I don't know anything, something I don't know this technique, so he will help, or he will show. Because another big thing I observed in industry, because my manager is also working with me, not like a bench work, so it's different from the academia. So
yeah,
it's because we both are working for a project that is going to be finished by March. So yes, again, it's a different environment.
Right, great.
Hey, Susan.
Daphne, yeah, it looks like Daphne's got her hand up, but go ahead, Dietrich.
No, I just want to 10 seconds, Daphne, before you go. Echo what Berin said is that for me, the biggest difference between academia and industry is teamwork. In academia, it's you, your bench, your grant. Everybody else is a competitor, right? But in industry, in an amazing company like what Berin works in, or any pharma company, you only succeed as a team, and the team will look out for you. If you don't know a thing, they will come and teach you, and it's not a problem, right? I mean, you know, and if you find something that you know that you can teach somebody else, you will do that. It's a team sport, and this is why I personally so much prefer companies over academia. Yeah, so if you're into teamwork, that'll be the thing.
Julia, before Daphne, I apologize. I'd like Julia to weigh in. Sort of NIST is sort of a hybrid space, right? It is a federal agency, but so how does it compare to academia?
So my experience is a little bit different, because as a graduate student, I worked in a place where we were very collaborative as well. So I worked at IBBR, so the Institute of Bioscience and Biotechnology Research. So we had NIST employees there, and we had different people from University of Maryland, different labs there. So it was a very collaborative environment. And so now that I've transitioned over to the NIST side, it's still very collaborative. I think one difference is now I may not be getting help from other graduate students, but now I'm getting help from experts in their fields or experts on different instruments who have years of experience and are very specialized in what they do. And so then when I'm speaking because we're all part of this NIST family, so if I need a sample, someone to help me run a sample, they will, of course, usually look at their schedule and be very helpful. And they are also very helpful in instruction, like teaching me how to learn an instrument. So in that way, it's kind of like how Berin said, a very collaborative environment. Everyone is pulling for you to succeed, because overall we succeed as NIST.
Thank you. Daphne, thanks for your patience. Go right ahead with your question.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate hearing everyone's advice. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Daphne Knudsen. I'm a fourth year PhD student in molecular and cellular biology. And I think what really drew me to the PhD was I genuinely love the research. I like thinking about science. I like designing experiments. I like seeing data. So I think what's scaring me from academia a bit is that you have to rely on writing grants so much. You have to, earn grants, and that takes away from the research. But the question I wanted to ask was, I feel like there's this myth that doing research in a non-academic setting takes away a lot of the freedom to chase down certain scientific projects. So I guess, do you feel like that's true? So do you feel like you are restricted in what you can study? And if that is true, does that actually bother you, or do you enjoy working on these projects?
What a great question. I'd love to have all of you address that. That's a fantastic question.
I'm more than happy to go first, but my information is a little outdated. So I would say it's a myth. So in academia, you work specifically in order to get a grant. You publish in order to get a grant. You work in, it's all grant driven. If you're not an expert, you can't veer left and right too far away from what you tell the grant agency. You don't have the freedom to research until you're tenured professor, 100 years old. I mean, it's just not, it's just freedom of academia is not really a thing anymore. And you can argue that there may be pockets for you. And if you're a genius, maybe that exists. Industry, in my experience, I've done the wildest, the weirdest, the most off the mark research inside companies because I could convince my supervisors that it might be a cool product in the end. And then once you do that, the funding is there immediately. The resources are there, but you do have to go through the equivalent of a grant application inside a company. But the nice thing about industry, and then I let Berin and Julia talk, is failure in industry is celebrated, right? You do a project for 2 weeks, you work extremely hard, you spend a lot of money, it doesn't work. Everybody go to the pub and drink because you want to fail really early. You want to experiment, try new ideas, blow it up. You don't want to study for 3 years on something that doesn't come out. That's just not a thing that industry can support. But risk-taking, going down a new avenue, sure. I've done, as I said, I've done the craziest stuff when I worked for industry, not in academia.
And Berin, I saw you going like this. What was that about?
Yeah, actually, what he said is true, because what I felt is that if you are interested to doing science, so industry is also a good option, because if you have a new idea, you have a manager, so you can discuss that idea with your manager. So the manager used to report to the head of that department. So they used to have a meeting on every week. So because I know about GSK only, I don't know about other company, how they were working. But what I'm saying is about GSK. So if then each quarter they have to report, we have like a all meeting with they have like 3 centers for vaccine. One is in here at Rockville, and one is at Siena, Italy, and the other one is at Belgium. So we have like a whole meeting with all the people, and they will discuss about the progress of each project. And before the last quarter, like last December last year, means last quarter, like Q4, so the manager will ask to, if you have a new idea or like something that we can contribute to improve this research, or like if you have a new idea for a project, so he can suggest that to the higher officials. So they they will decide whether they can incorporate for like next quarter. Because I already mentioned I was doing one project, but that is for low priority. So they just put it back and then ask me to do the other project, which is like high priority. So we have to switch between project. But the one thing also I want to emphasize is that we don't need to write a grant. We don't need to think about grant or write anything. We have to think about what we are doing, and there's facilities is very, very good facility. So we can do, there is no issues with the funding or anything. You can, what my manager told me, that whatever you need, order it. Don't ask me any more. So those flexibilities are there. So if we want to do good research, we can do that in the industry also. So that's what from my experience.
Yeah, so my experience at NIST is that you, within reason, of course, you are able to ask questions beyond maybe your initial scope or your initial aim. That's not frowned upon. Of course, you may want to speak with your supervisor, your boss, or things like that. And I think because it's such a collaborative environment, you may speak with other scientists who have a different perspective, have a different skill set, and they can, present a different facet to what you were originally thinking. And so, of course, everyone is curious, everyone wants to succeed, everyone wants that next paper as well. So it really is a collaborative environment, and it helps with that. And I think another thing that NIST has that kind of keeps things fresh is that their internal proposals. So they're proposal like competitions where, you know, a scientist, if they have a dream or came up with an idea that maybe is different from what they're doing and they want like significant funding for it, they are able to develop proposals, submit proposals, and those are you know, voted on. I'm not sure of the whole process, but several proposals are presented and eventually one will get funding. So and there's different levels to that for, you know, full faculty and you know, postdocs as well. So I would say that that fosters the creativity, and if you have a great idea, it doesn't have to go to the graveyard. There are ways for it to come up.
Great, thank you, everyone.
That is such a great place for us to wrap up. I know we just have we have 1 minute left. So I would love to have everyone thank our panelists by unmiking and really saying yay, like applaud, so they can feel like there's life out here.
No, you guys are awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I am going to quickly just remind everyone that we do have an evaluation form. April's going to drop that in the chat box, and there are recordings from the previous Rita B. Leahy panels, as well as our Doctoral Career Pathways panel conference from last year. There were actually 12 panels. I cannot thank our alumni enough. Each of you just brought a perspective that fit with the other two. If those of you out there are curious about what types of opportunities are available in this biotech region, you've just gotten 3 perspectives. I know that our panelists are welcome to people reaching out. I would encourage you to use the LinkedIn tool. And I would encourage each of you to not think about things in absolute terms and be curious about the work that our alumni are doing out there. My team, April and I, and our new doctoral career consultant are also here to help you. And I hope that you realize that our alumni are here to help you and to help each other. So with that, I am going to wrap things up and stop the recording and be really